Welcome back. So what we have here is 3 nearly complete bikes and a frame that has a crank in it. What appears to be just junk here. We're gonna build one bike and we're gonna take it out and we're gonna have some fun with it. Now, whether or not I make money off this bike, it doesn't really worry me. The total investment in all of this stuff here is only like $50. So if we can get out of this below $100, I should be able to sell this bike for $100 and I'll get to have a heap of fun with it before I let it go. With that said, let's get into it. We'll talk through what we're gonna do. So what we have here is a approximately 2011 model Trek 3 Series aluminium mountain bike. The chain is completely shot. Most of the cables are rusted, things missing up on the handlebars. There's no shifter or brake on one side. The brake cable's sort of wrapped up around the forks. We've got mismatched wheels, mismatched crank arms, and yeah, overall the bike's just in a bit of a sorry state. So we're gonna use the other bikes that we have around here to just compile a decent amount of parts, bring this thing back up to a state where it can sort of take on some of the jumps at the local bike park. How we go with that, I'm not too sure. We'll see how good we can build it and how confident I am in the bike's abilities with me on it. If we can get this thing done and the weather holds up, then yeah, we'll take it out for a ride and we'll put it through its paces. Now, if you've seen in last week's video, this was on the stand briefly. I removed the rear derailleur for my daughter's bike. This bike I've had for a very long time and it's just been sitting out the back. Unfortunately, although it does look cool, it's just a department store dual suspension bike and it weighs an absolute ton. It does have some cool stuff on it, like it's got hydraulic disc brakes, decent wheel sets, decent cranks. I guess for the time, it was probably a really good buy from a department store. Couldn't really find that much information online. However, it does look kind of cool, but it is a small bike. So even if I could build it up, I couldn't ride it. If I did build it up, it wouldn't be worth it to sell. I'll be using the wheel sets, the bottle cage, and probably the rear shifter for this bike. The bike already has a front shifter on it. However, I'll probably be removing that. And that's where this one comes in. So a guy just gave me this frame for free because he knew that I did up bikes and thought that it might be useful. It was just something that he had sitting around in his shed and he said he was never gonna build anything with it. I mean, I took it because it had a 1x crank on there. I figured even if I don't use the frame, I could probably use the crank. So the crank is just a cheap Chinese 1x system with a stamped steel chainring on there, so nothing special. However, I think I might change this bike over to 1x just to clean it up and give it a nicer look. I'm only going to be building it purely for taking it down trails. So with a smaller chainring, it'll climb well, and descending at the trails here, you don't really need to pedal that much. So I think it's going to be perfect for what we need it for. So not only does the Trek have mismatched wheels, it also has mismatched tires. So I picked this bike up last weekend for $20, and I mean, it's in good enough condition that I could probably just flip this bike and make money on it. However, the reason that I bought this bike was purely because it has the same Bontrager tires that are on the Trek at the moment. And for $20, just for the tires was a good price for me. It's actually quite hard nowadays to find a good 26-inch tire. If I wanted to, I could just take the tires that are on the Trek, put it on this, and then probably still get $20 back for it. So it'll be a free set of tires for the Trek. Otherwise, yeah, I might be able to swap the wheels over, give it a bit of a tidy up, and who knows how we'll go. So I was actually quite surprised by last week's video. We flipped that little pink Trek. While I was expecting to get about $50 for it, I listed it for $70, expecting to get talked down. A couple of days later, someone bought it for $70. While they're not my first choice of bike to flip, and I mean, they don't draw a massive amount of money, there is still money in them. And being that this is a Trek, I think that I could probably get maybe like $70, $80 for this if it was tidied up. But yeah, in any case, I'll be stripping the tires off it and it will sit to the side until I have time to work on it, but I don't think this is going to make any future videos unless I really run out of bikes to do. here it is as I purchased it. I actually picked this bike up for $20. We'll tear this thing down. Let's crack on and get into it. We got the bottom bracket out. It did put up a bit of a fight. You can see it's not in the best condition. It will no longer be needed as we're gonna change it over to 1-by, and that will be with the help of this crank and an external bottom bracket. So the one issue that I'll have with this is that I don't have the preload bolt for the non-drive side. I've rang around to a couple of shops. No one has it in stock, but they have all recommended that I just do preload by putting a bit of pressure on this crank arm and then tightening it up. So the preload bolt that is normally with a crank like this, similar to like a Shimano, where it only takes around 2 Newton meters of tension. So it's only really there to take up the slack. So all I'm gonna be running with this crank is the 2 pinch bolts because there's no pin. You can hate me all you want, I'll be the one riding these cranks. If I do happen to find a bolt for this, then I'll chuck it in. So the one shop that I did go to, they only had the Shimano bolts and it didn't quite fit in the hole. So I'm guessing that it's probably proprietary, being some like cheap Chinese model, but I don't have one. And yeah, I'm gonna run it without one. Let's just not talk anymore about that. What we do have now is the frame basically stripped down. The only thing that I left on there was the brake bracket. There's no real reason to remove it. There wasn't really a reason to remove the rear derailleur, but I thought it would just be easier to clean it up and easier to clean the frame up. The frame, I mean, the frame's way dirtier now that I've put my grubby mitts all over it, but I'm gonna go give it a good clean, give it a polish, take some of the stickers off and some of the sticker residue from the stickers that have deteriorated on here, then we can get into building it. So we got the frame cleaned up. We got all the components that we need laid out here. They still do need a little bit of a clean, but as I install them, I'll clean what I need to. The main thing is to get the bike riding. Overall, once it's back together, even in the state that it is at the moment with just a bit of a wipe down, it's still gonna look 10 times better than it did at the start. So we're not trying to do like a retro restoration. We're just trying to get a bike that we can go and just send. How good is this? I knew it was gonna look better, but I did not expect it to look this cool. So I knew that with the mismatched wheels, it did throw the look off a bit, and that just by putting a black wheel on the front, it was gonna tidy up the overall look of the bike. But with the matching tires and the large Bontrager lettering on the sides of the tires, it just gives it a really cool, aggressive mountain bike look. You can probably tell I'm actually super stoked with this bike and the way that it's turned out. I knew it was gonna look cool, but I didn't think it was gonna look this cool. I was torn between swapping over to hydro brakes or keeping mechanical. So these mechanical brakes, now that they're cleaned up, they actually appear to work really well. And the levers that I've put on there are quite ergonomic. They were just some cheap ones that I had laying around, but probably the best ones that I had the choice of, and I'm pretty happy with them. The grips we ended up using off of the dual suspension bike as well, so it has come in quite handy to build this bike up. So not accounting for the pedals, because these are my personal pedals and I'll swap them out if I do go to sell the bike. We are only at $65 all in for this bike. So with a new chainring and a new shifter, we're still gonna be below that $100 mark. And I was having a look to see what I could compare it to on Marketplace today, and there is nothing cool for $100. You can see we've taken a bike that I paid $20 for, and for a total investment of less than $100, we're gonna have a really cool bike to take for a ride. At this stage, all I have to change is the shifter and the chainring. Overall, that's not gonna make a big impact to the look of the bike. The shifter, you're not gonna be able to tell the difference because I'll try and order the same one. And the chainring, I'm gonna try and order the same size, just in a black, narrow, wide. Yeah, that's not gonna make a massive difference to the look of the bike. So yeah, overall, what we have here is how it is going to be. I'll say it one more time. I am absolutely stoked with how this thing come out. So the weather's pretty average and I don't see it drying up anytime soon. So yeah, basically my thought is that a wet outdoor ride is still better than sitting on the trainer, which is what I seem to have been doing so much lately. I am a firm believer that if you're not the one that's digging the trails, you stay off them unless it's dry. So I'm not going to go to the mountain bike park. I am not a fan of the people that rock up there on a day like today and just sort of ruin it for everyone when it sort of dries out. So I'm just gonna go out to like a local four-wheel drive track, which, I mean, it's only 7:30 in the morning, so there's a fair chance that no one's gonna be out there at the moment. Well, fingers crossed there isn't anyway, so I don't have to compete with four-wheel drives. I'll just ride around for half an hour, test the bike out, and probably get covered in mud. Well, yeah, see how it goes.
much easier coming down than going up. So the weather is starting to come in now. It has started to rain. I'll probably get another half an hour in. It's 8 o'clock now. So yeah, but it has been extremely fun. I just wish it was my size so I could like properly feel comfortable on it. But at the same time, being small, it is easy to just sort of maneuver around a bit. So something I did yesterday off camera, I actually moved the chainring from the outside of the crankface to the inside, which yeah, dramatically helped the chain line. What I also didn't realize was that this stamped steel sprocket actually had a bit of a bend in it. So when I was looking down the chain line, what I assumed was straight was out of whack when you did a full 180 of the cranks. So yeah, that was just sort of stupidity on my part. So just by moving that chain ring from one side to the other has made a massive difference, and I've only dropped the chain once, and that was on the first descent, and that's because I just took it a little bit too heavy off one of the drops. It just dropped one link up the top, and then as I pedaled forward it come off. The second time that I did it, I knew to look, and then I just did a half a back pedal, and then I was right. Since then, I haven't had an issue. Woohoo! Whoa! A little bit soft. Spoke too soon. Is what it is. Oh. drivetrain is hating life at the moment, but we're nearly done. A couple more runs and I'll wrap it up. Not quite as well groomed as Sugar Bag Trails, but let's do one more send to the bottom of the hill, and no, two more. Never say one more. We're gonna do two more sends to the bottom of the hill and then we're gonna wrap it up. And we'll call that a session. So that'll wrap up the ride, and I think that might even wrap up the video. I can only say it so many times, but I'm absolutely stoked with how this bike come out and even how it rides. For what is probably just an entry-level bike, I actually haven't looked at the factory specs of this bike. And I'm one of those people where, like, if you have a bike, you can just ride it. There's been many times before I ever owned a mountain bike that I would just take my BMX down to the mountain bike trails and do the dual slalom line. It's not something that I probably would have taken my BMX on then, but there's no reason that you can't take an entry-level bike on there. You don't have to have the best skills in the world. I mean, if you've seen my gravel riding video, you can tell that I don't have the best skills in the world. If you have enough knowledge about how your bike works and what it is somewhat capable of and what you're capable of, then you can push the limits with it. And I recommend everyone go out and just have a proper crack with their bike. If you have watched this far, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch a video that, I mean, is probably gonna be like 15 or 20 minutes long. So if you're gonna sit there and watch me just babble on for that long, then yeah, I must be doing something right. So I'm gonna wrap the video up here. So hopefully you like this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, share to somebody that might enjoy this sort of content as well. Also drop a comment below of sort of what entry-level bike you've sent down a trail before, and yeah, whether or not it survived, because this thing here survived really well. And to be honest, I'll probably do a few more rides on it before I finally let it go. So yeah, until the next one.
Woo! So what we have here is just a bunch of junk.